All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel now. As everybody knows, Dricus Du Plessis TKO'd Robert Whittaker in round number 2 of their fight at UFC 290 this last Saturday. And while I don't want to sound like a total bandwagon jumper or like I'm all up on Dricus Du Plessis' yam bag, I do want to talk about how impressive this victory is because I went back and rewatched the fight. I also went and listened to Dricus Du Plessis' post-fight press conference interview space, and I think that it is way more impressive than people realize or that a lot of people are giving him credit for. I've seen a lot of people say that Robert Whittaker was overrated and things like that. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. He has beaten literally every single person in the middleweight division aside from Israel Adesanya, who he arguably beat in the second fight. And while a knock on Whittaker is that he doesn't have finishing capabilities or whatever. He has been fighting people consistently who are notoriously hard to finish, like Yoel Romero, like Marvin Vettori, like Calvin Gastelum. Not a whole lot of people finish these guys, especially not on the feet. And Dricus Du Plessis talking about his victory and how he did it, to me, was very eye-opening as to how much he's thinking during a fight and things like this. So before we get into it, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. But again, here we go. Thinking while fighting is like the main thing that I did not ever think that Dricus Du Plessis was doing. And when you watch all of his other fights, he talked a lot at the post-fight press conference about how they managed to deal with Robert Whittaker in training camp and things like this. One of the big things that he spoke about was the southpaw stance. And he said that he's seen guys have a lot of success from southpaw, but it's tricky to say that because you've seen Robert Whittaker win so many times against southpaws, right? He's beat Darren Till, he's beat Marvin Vettori, he's beat Calvin Gastelum. He arguably beat Adesanya, who is a switch stance fighter, but fights in southpaw quite frequently. And, for the most part, and especially in the Vettori and Gastelum fight, you see him just, even Yoel Romero's southpaw, you see Rob land way more than his opponents. So the openings are few and far between. One that he noticed was that as he keeps his hands low, but he doesn't block the body kick. And he said that he realized that in the first round. I think the reason for that is Rob is so concerned about getting tagged that his right hand is almost constantly glued to his face. Okay, whenever he's entering the pocket, he's very quick to get his hand up there. He's not looking to block body kicks, which is weird because we don't see a whole lot of people landing. Israel Adesanya landed a couple good body kicks on him, but that's Israel Adesanya. Nobody else really lands hard body kicks on Robert Whittaker. Also, one thing that I noticed from the southpaw position, typically if you're fighting an orthodox fighter and you guys are mirroring each other, meaning your body's open to the same side their body's open, right? Their kicks have a better angle to catch you. Robert Whittaker's known for his head kick, but the way that he sets it up, I think it almost works better against guys that are in an orthodox position because he likes to throw a jab and then a cross. And if you're an orthodox and he throws a cross to you, you want to slip that way. It's natural. It's easier to slip towards your lead shoulder than it is to lean back and get out of the way. When somebody's in southpaw, though, that cross to get them to slip towards your head kick is almost gone unless you're fighting a guy that is not like a high-level striker, which apparently Dricus Du Plessis most certainly is, okay? And if you look at his fights, while he's won the vast majority of them, and I'm talking about Robert Whittaker now, I went back and watched some of his old fights, and there are a lot of moments where his opponents have success in southpaw, but it's just that, as I said, like those opportunities are few and far between. So they'll land a good shot, but Rob will have landed 10 in that time. Jared Cannonier tagged him quite a few times from the southpaw position, and almost every time he would switch back to orthodox, Rob would piece him the fuck up, okay? Israel Adesanya in their second fight dropped him with a straight left from the southpaw stance. In their first fight, in the first round, when he dropped him at the buzzer, Israel Adesanya, it was a counter sequence, and Izzy started off in orthodox, but the shot that he landed that dropped Whittaker at the buzzer, he had shifted mid counter sequence and landed a lead hook on his chin from southpaw, okay, right foot forward. And then you look at Darren Till drops him with a lead elbow which was very similar to the way that Dricus Du Plessis dropped him here, because it was on an entry. And this was another thing that Dricus Du Plessis brought up, saying that Robert Whittaker doesn't move laterally. He moves forward backwards, but he's very, very quick to do so, and he's got very good range management. So it's hard to find spots where you can hit him, because he'll be in the pocket, and when you go to land, he's just gone. And he'll just be gone. You'll see punches go like right by, skimming his nose sometimes. Dricus Du Plessis, as opposed to trying to, extend a combination to maybe tag him or see if he could when Rob's moving back, because Rob's so good at that, he didn't even bother. But what he did do was interrupt the timing. So when Rob's entering, he was able to time a shot, which is incredible. And what makes it even more incredible was the thinking that it took to get there. Okay. He noticed that the body kicks were open, hands were low, not blocking his body kicks. So he was landing good hard body kicks, and he did land a number of them. And then he talked about how he felt the 1-2 head kick. And he said it was not as powerful as he was expecting. And then he prefaced and he said, while they didn't land flush, I partially blocked them, but once I felt them, even because you can tell the power, right? If you feel a shot on your arm, fuck, that guy hits hard. He said once he felt it, he felt way more comfortable moving towards the open side of Robert Whittaker, which is moving towards the head kick, right? But you're moving away from the left hook now. But while you're moving towards Whittaker's kicks and his power side, you are also moving towards yours. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. But if you're Dricus Du Plessis and you're extremely confident in your power and your ability to eat Robert Whittaker's shots, then it's a risk that, he was willing to take, clearly. He brought in karate guys specifically to train with him, to help him with that forward-backwards movement, which is just high fight IQ, right? To do that, to have the wherewithal to, either his coaches did it or he mentioned it to his coaches. Alexander Volkanovski talked about this with Yair Rodriguez. They brought in a bunch of taekwondo dudes to spar with and things like that. It's just, man, I've seen people in comment sections, I think I already said this, but saying that Rob's overrated is fucking crazy. And you're diminishing what Dricus Du Plessis just did when you said that. So if you are a Dricus fan, and you do think that, honestly, keep it to yourself, because it just hurts your boy. You know what I mean? That is an incredibly impressive victory. And I don't think people should be denigrating it by saying that Robert Whittaker was overrated. I think Dricus Du Plessis was just severely underrated, and is way fucking better than the vast majority of us thought, okay? And he's not just like a Giga Chad brawler, dude, which you would think if you watched all of his fights leading up to this one. He even said, I couldn't fight Rob the same way that I fought a Brad Tavares. And he probably felt that way with Derek Brunson to an extent also. Derek Brunson doesn't have fucking power in his hands, really. You know what I mean? He's not known for TKO and dudes on the feet. I mean, maybe he's got a few earlier in his career, but the majority of his work is done on the ground. So this win is unbelievably fucking impressive. And seeing and listening, like having a chance to watch it back, listening to everything he said, and then watching it back again and seeing what he's talking about. He's not just like making this up on the fly to make himself sound smart, or that he was thinking in there. He was thinking. And I've seen some people talking about how Rob didn't seem to be feinting as much and things like that, and he was kind of a little more aggressive than he typically was. Not nearly close to the first Adesanya fight, but you are right to an extent. He wasn't throwing as many feints. But I think the reason for that is because, and I covered this in my feints video where I thought it would be a problem for him, Dricus was covering up like completely and totally. And if your opponent's eyes are covered, they're not going to react to your feints. He covered up like high guard real tight, and that was all he did. That was all he gave Rob. He wasn't moving around. He wasn't doing anything like this. And I do think, the nose thing was kind of a meme. But seeing how much less tired he got in this fight kind of shows that it was true to an extent. And in the second round with Darren Till, where Darren Till was getting off a bunch on him, using feints and things like that. He was exhausted, and he had dominated the first round, and Till was still there. So, man, I'm so fucking impressed by this victory, and I'm not trying to be a yam bag rider, dude. But honestly, that was like a dismantling of one of the best middle. I've seen people talking shit about somebody saying, "Oh, Whittaker's one of the best middleweights of all time." He is, dude. Somebody said, "Oh, he's got no title defenses." Well, I fuck off, hey. I don't want to hear that shit. He's beaten everybody, with or without the belt. He's beaten guys that Adesanya's beaten better than Adesanya's beaten them. You know what I mean? So, while he does not have the belt, and while he doesn't have the title reign and all this shit, even though he was a champion, he's still clearly one of the best middleweights out there. And Duplessis just fucking dismantled him systematically, which makes it all the more impressive. And all the more, it proves all the more that it was not just luck. He didn't just land a good shot, and that was that. You know what I mean? He knew that the shot was available. He knew that Whittaker's weapons would be slightly diminished if he were to be in southpaw more than in orthodox. And he did switch a few times, but he even said specifically, like, we trained for southpaw. All of that makes this win way more fucking impressive, because he didn't just tag him with a big shot. And then, of course, the finishing sequence was absolutely nasty. And I said it in my reaction video, but to have the wherewithal, right? To have the wherewithal to realize he's not blocking to the body when you're throwing kicks. So why would he be blocking to the body? When you've got him hurt on the ropes, his body's wide open. And not a lot of people do that, man. You know, he dug that shit. And that was, you can go back and rewatch it. That was I wish I could do film breakdown so bad. That was the moment that Whittaker finally curled up. And after that, he wasn't moving at all. Up until then, he was moving away from Duplessis. He was still getting tagged with some shots, but he was, you know, moving away, getting to the cage, trying to get away from this fucking wildebeest coming at him. And that body shot just sunk him. So it's going to be extremely fucking interesting seeing Duplessis fight Israel Adesanya. I think he's got a way better chance than I thought before this fight, obviously. And I think he's going to have a way better chance than the odds will say. And, man, don't diminish his victory by saying Robert Whittaker's overrated. That's fucking bullshit, dude. That's bullshit. Like, 100% bullshit. You know what I mean? And I've seen people say, oh, you know, this fight will look like the Paulo Costa fight with Izzy. Robert Whittaker would fuck Paulo Costa up, and I am still confident in saying that even after watching him get dismantled by Dricus Du Plessis. There is no way that Dricus Du Plessis is going to look like Paulo Costa did in his fight versus Israel Adesanya, or at least not in my opinion, dude. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I apologize for yam riding and, you know, bandwagon jumping. I'm not doing that. I was a fan of Dricus before this. I said this multiple times. I'm still a fan of him now. But honestly, more so, because fighting ability is a big part of why I would like a specific fighter. And the fight IQ, the fight ability, and the ability to execute it. You know, it's one thing to do it in training against guys that you've brought in to help you. It's another thing to do it against a guy that is trying to take your head off. And, yeah, man, that's all I've got. Like and subscribe, greatly appreciate it. See you at the next one. Bye-bye.